Welcome to the Savvy Ladies Wednesday Wisdom webinar. I'm Maggie Montemuro, and I'm the Marketing Manager at Savvy Ladies. If you have a question during the webinar, you can type it into the chat box. If you're joining us by phone, you can email your question to info@savvyladies.org. Today's presenter is Janet Wise. Janet is a corporate HR executive and an expert corporate learning strategist recognized for her award-winning leadership programs. She is a Gallup certified StrengthsFinder coach. Janet has 15 years of corporate experience in leading, developing, and designing talent management strategies at Fortune 500 companies. Janet currently uses her personal branding system to coach mid-senior level businesswomen how to identify, articulate, and demonstrate their personal brilliance, signature strengths, and expert brand so they can fully capitalize on their unique value and effectively position themselves to create greater career satisfaction and more career opportunities. Thanks, Janet, for being with us today, and let's get started.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Maggie. Happy to be here. So here we are, Advantage You, building your expert brand. I'm going to begin with a question. How many of you are feeling confident enough today to call yourself expert in your field? Now, for those of you who confidently say, yes, I'm an expert, terrific, because this webinar will show you how to continue to capitalize on your expertise. And for those of you who want to begin positioning yourself as an expert brand, you're also in the right place. Because today's webinar, I'll show you how to identify, develop, and demonstrate your expertise for greater visibility, better results, and I'll do this by introducing you to a quick 3-step framework. You can capitalize on it regardless of where you are in your career and business. My intent is to inspire you to understand why identifying yourself as an expert is a smart, intentional strategy that can grow your business or career. And the best part is you can begin applying these tactics today. You are the most important product you will ever market. This is the biggest takeaway, and it's so important. I'm going to come back to this slide several times during this information session. I'd like to invite you to think of it as your new mantra or an affirmation, because I promise you they are truly words to live by. Now, I spend a good deal of time with my clients on getting them to embrace and live this because it lays such an important and solid foundation in your career transformation. Maggie introduced me. She provided you with some of the stats, and I'd like to say yes, hello. So I'm Janet Wise, expert career strategist and personal branding advisor. Maggie indicated, yes, I have close to 2 decades worth of experience as a corporate learning and development executive. But what that really means is that I'm responsible for training programs and professional development and career planning initiatives for global organizations. I've worked in companies across industries, all within similar roles, and all with companies that understand that developing their people assets is an important competitive advantage. I also launched Wise Advantages. It's more than just career strategies for women professionals. I'd like to think of it as a movement, because it's truly my mission to get more women creating their personal brands and their brilliant point of view, because I know that can take them to the next level in their career, and more importantly, doing more work they love. And I share with you because the world needs more engaged and brilliant women to deliver their value, to deliver their knowledge and their expertise so that everyone can benefit. And I know this not only firsthand with close to 20 years experience, but also in research. According to a recent survey by the Conference Board, only 45% of Americans, and the stats are larger globally, but 45% of Americans are satisfied with their careers. And that's the lowest level in 22 years of the survey. And of those 55% who are dissatisfied, they feel they're ready for a career change. They want more visibility, greater financial recognition, and more opportunities to work in their signature strengths so they can feel more engaged and fulfilled. 55%, in my view, that it was just crazy. So that's why I've made it my mission to help more women in their careers, why I'm so passionate about this topic, and I truly believe that we women can do an enormous amount of good in corporations when we have a seat at the table. And getting that seat at the table is important to everybody's bottom line, and I'm committed to helping you get there. So here's our agenda for today. I'm going to share lots of information and best practices, and equally important, I'm going to give you ways to implement. Remember, I'm a learning and development expert, so I'm into knowledge transfer and immediate application. Information is great, implementation is key. Now, while I realize I do go much more in depth in my private one-on-one coaching or training programs, I have a commitment to you that you will be able to identify some tangible ways to begin to build a solid expert foundation. So we only have about 30 minutes. I want to deliver as much value as I can in the time we have, so let's jump in. Let's begin by looking at the why. Establishing expertise is good for your career or business. Look, I'm sure we all understand branding as a consumer. We are engaging with existing brands daily, and yet we tend not to attach branding to ourselves. We know that consumer branding is one of the most important aspects of any business, and if we state it simply, a consumer brand is a promise to the customer. Well, you're a personal brand. You have a unique value, and that value is comprised of your talents, experience, interests, values, but collectively it tells your clients or your employer what to expect, and it differentiates your value from your peers. And being expert is seen as an intentional brand strategy, one that can give you a major edge in the marketplace. But since most of our experience and exposure to branding begins with consumers and engaging with their brands, I'd like to begin there. When we think about Apple, of course, what comes to mind? If you're using the chat function, you can put it in there. In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and just move through this as quick as I can to really get to you, to lay the foundation and give you the tips. But when we think of these brands, they've done a very good job creating a brand that's based on innovation. When we think of Apple, we think differently. We think of products that are simple and sophisticated. Similarly with Starbucks, whether it's your fave or not, what comes to mind? They've transformed coffee. They were able to take a commodity and put it into a branded experience that combines the expertise of the barista with a social component. But let's focus away from products, and I want to look at branding from the lens of individual celebrity brands. And no, I'm not going to name some of the names that you're thinking about. What I'd like to do is specifically think about celebrity brands that are linked to an expertise. So celebrity brands such as Dr. Phil. What I like about Dr. Phil, and I use him in my example, is he makes psychology accessible and understandable to the general public by addressing important social issues, on his talk shows, etc. But what's interesting to note is that his background, he was first a forensic psychologist. He had a business helping lawyers choose and select impartial jurors. It just so happened that the company he was associated with was representing Oprah during her trial when the Texas cattle owners were suing her for something she said on air about red meat, maybe about a decade or so ago. Dr. Drew, we think of him, we think of celebrity rehab. It's all about, right, love, sex, addiction. But he provides this behind-the-scenes look at rehab. But during his undergrad and his medical schooling, somehow he found time to have a radio show. So all of this brand building was already in play. Now, I may be dating myself here, and I will disclaim, okay, so I'm of the baby boom generation, but Dr. Ruth Westheimer was a very popular sex therapist who truly was a cultural icon in the 1980s. She had one of the first very frankly talking radio show about sex. Now, she built her brand, combined her degrees in sociology, her sex therapy, and like the others, built in her own life experience to create a celebrity brand. And the last here is Nancy Grace, right? So you may know her. She's a legal commentary in one of the cable stations. She has a very clear point of view on victim rights. Her interesting background is while she was in college, and I think her undergrad major was she was studying literature, her fiancé was murdered. And upon graduating, she decided she's going to enroll in law school and become a felony prosecutor. Now, I'm sharing this with you because there's one thing these celebrity brands have in common, and that is that their brand is much more than their credentials, much more than their titles. And let's take a look at the next slide. Sorry, I'm having trouble going back and forth. Here we go, pulling it all together. What I'm highlighting for you here is the brilliance of each of these individuals in creating an expert brand. So it's a brand that has its roots in authenticity. It has their point of view, a point of view that's colored and positioned from their life experiences. And it's coming all together to create their brand of expertise, their unique value proposition and brand. So for me, Maggie provided you with my credentials, titles, some award-winning sound bites. But I will tell you that it's my point of view on leadership and professional development and my focus on women in leadership and why that's important to everybody's bottom line that is a common thread that's carried out whether I'm in my corporate position or I'm doing my consulting work. I feel strongly, right, that everyone should be doing their best work. And oftentimes when I'm in my own corporation or I'm networking on behalf of my corporate role, I don't necessarily introduce myself as the global head of learning and development. I actually say I facilitate the success of others because it's so much more than just our title. And I share with you, I used to be a paralegal. And why is that important? Well, for me, it colors my lens. I'm always looking for best practices. I think in precedents. And what I know for sure is that success leaves clues. So I'm in a unique position to curate the fast track for success for my clients. And the key strategy is around this notion and strategy of building a personal brand. So what's in it for you? Look, I'm asked repeatedly, right, about career trajectories, professional development, and business strategies, no matter which hat I'm wearing, my own business or in my corporate roles. I'm consulting on developing individual personal development plans. But what's in it for you, right? Why do you need the expert brand? It's so that you can elevate your visibility, your status, and propel your career and business forward. What I know from experience, firsthand experience, real-world experience, is that setting yourself up as an expert will help advance your career, it will gain visibility, and it'll give you more satisfaction and fulfillment. And it's not as difficult or cumbersome as it sounds. I mean, if you're listening to this webinar, you have some level of awareness, I would imagine, that this topic is important. I think Maggie had shared with me at the start of the call that we had well over 100 women signed up for this webinar. So it could be that maybe you've been passed over for a promotion. Maybe you've missed a plum assignment. Maybe you're feeling stalled or less inspired or less engaged. Or like many of my clients, I mean, you simply know you're ready for more. Now, there can be a whole host of other motivators, but whatever it is for you, the bottom line is you know you're talented, you know you're hardworking, and you know you've earned the right to do more work you love. So what's in it for you is that you get to control your destiny. Your professional reputation is your most valuable career asset. And this has never been truer than now, because what's happening in the world of work, and I'm sure you will agree, is that change is the only constant. So what we can control is our brand. So you are responsible for creating, changing, and sustaining your brand across the life of your career. You need to ensure your brand will allow you to succeed and excel in this new paradigm. And I'd like to just take a quick look at the backdrop of this new paradigm, which is sort of this new branded expert economy. So I've got some stats up on this slide, but quickly, I just want to look at some of the factors that are impacting our careers, because understanding yourself is important in the context of understanding the future of the workplace and economy. So according to the U.S. Department of Labor, the average length of time a person now stays in their job is decreasing. Employees are changing their jobs every 2 years, their companies every 3 years, their industries every 4 years. So in this dynamic environment, the window of time you have to make your mark is small. And that's why you need to be crystal clear about the value you bring to your organization, today's organization or a future organization. And with the push to grow revenue and profits, we know that companies are expanding into new geographies. They're merging, they're globalizing, they're innovating. The rate of change is exponential. So there are many external factors that are beyond your control that impact how you work. But one thing that doesn't change is that companies are always looking for ways to stay ahead of the competition. They want increased market share. They want a creative workforce of professionals, and they want individual contributors or leaders who can deliver on their business strategies. And in the backdrop of all of this change, as if that wasn't enough, we saw the rise of the matrix organization. So there's no longer this corporate ladder to climb in a sort of maybe linear or upward path. So instead, you need to know how to advance when there is no career ladder. And how do you do that? You align for success. You'll hear me talk a lot about your expertise and brand within the context of your current organization. So you need to get clear on what you offer, know your worth and your value, and align it with what the organization needs. I really like this quote from personal branding guru, William Arruda. What makes you unique makes you successful. You know, you heard me say earlier, it's not about a fake it till you make it. This is all about authenticity. This is all about what's in your DNA, playing to your strengths, and then putting it in within a context that's going to resonate for you and for whatever your mission is, whether it's your own business or if you're a careerist. And what I want you to think about here is that when your employer, when your peers, when your direct reports or your clients believe and perceive that you are a branded professional, they listen to you more carefully. They trust your responses. They're more willing to negotiate timelines and deliverables, and they're likely going to treat you with greater success. Ultimately, what I'd like you to take away from this slide is looking for ways to leverage your expertise that serves the business bottom line and your personal bottom line. So again, my goal is to inspire you to take charge of your brand, or someone else will. So look, we've already established that it's no longer just the domain of corporations or celebrities, but personal branding is what sets you apart from others with similar skills and abilities. This whole notion of personal branding was made popular and became sort of mainstream. There was a management guru, came out of advertising, Tom Peters, in a 1997 Fast Company article called The Brand Called You. You can still Google it. It's worth it. It's the most effective, innovative strategy you can use to achieve professional success and fulfillment right? It's not always just about, success in terms of dollars. It's success in terms of your why and the meaning you have behind your work. But it is what will set you apart uniquely, authentically, and expertly. So I'd like to take a moment to define expertise as I'm using it here. Now, I define expertise using definitely the literal Webster definition, but I like to broaden the definition to include a few other elements, because many of my clients come to me thinking that A, they either don't have expertise yet, or they have to go out and get another certification or another degree, etc., and that may or may not be the case. But they also feel, perhaps, that their accomplishments and track record of performance, or maybe degrees that they do have, is already what comprises them as an expert. So when I use the term expertise, I'm including the 3 points that are on this slide. So aside from the sort of dictionary, textbook definition of it, I want you to think about thought leaders, thought leadership, those leaders that are making informed opinions. They're the go-to people in their field of expertise. They're the trusted sources. They move, they inspire people. They may have innovative ideas. They may be change agents within their organizations, but they're turning ideas into reality. And another way to demonstrate expertise is to have a point of view, a business point of view. For instance, having a compelling argument about why some business problem exists in the world, your industry, and then sharing that there is a new, proven way of solving it from your point of view. This is setting up your expertise. Now, in my programs, whether it's private coaching or my programs on the Branding Room, I teach my clients how to develop a point of view, because developing that point of view is very important, and it's often overlooked. For example, even in my corporate role, I recently had a senior leader ask me to help coach an emerging leader. Now, this was a gal who was a high potential employee. She was exceeding expectations, managing her P&L. Her clients loved her. So her manager sought to give her some additional visibility within the organization, invited her to an important meeting with some very senior leadership, top of the house leaders. So it sounds great, right? This is going to be a win. Well, yeah, it's great, but however, what she missed, what this emerging leader missed, was the opportunity to show up, meaning the emerging leader just sat there. She didn't offer anything to the conversation. Now, one of the techniques I teach my clients is how to share a point of view, to know what to say when you're at the table, and some key phrases. But the quickest way to a point of view is, and if I had a drum roll, I would do it, is to borrow one. That's the single most critical takeaway here, is for you to be curious, to be a student of your industry. So by reading research, you can simply state what other industry leaders are saying, right? According to Tom Peters, according to a personal guru, according to the research, you've seen me model it several times throughout this presentation, although I would contend that I can still stand hold in my own brand of expertise. So I'm giving you examples of individual clients. I want you to know that if you're the manager of a department or a team, I've worked with teams, especially HR functions, to define and raise their collective brand as experts, right, and move teams from this perception from transactional order takers into value-add trusted business partners. And part of that transformation rested on this strategy about creating a point of view and not wasting the opportunity when you have a seat at the table. So what we know to be true, because the marketing research supports this, is that consumers are attracted to experts, and in organizations and in my own research and in my own experience, the expert at hand gets the project, they get the promotion, and they get the recognition. So here it is again. You're the most important product you will ever market. I want you to ask yourself, what are they saying about you when you're not in the room? Because your personal brand is what they're saying about you when you leave the room. You know, and when I see this slide, it reminds me that just last month, my company began its annual performance management cycle review. Now, as you may or may not know, because it depends on the level of transparency and the formality of your organization's performance review practices, but typically what takes place during this time is that your manager is in a room, we're in a conference room, behind closed doors, together with other managers, representatives from HR, maybe they have somebody like me from a developmental and career development perspective. But we're looking at the business, the projected strategy, and now we are now looking at aligning the business growth opportunities with the individual growth opportunities in the organization. So meaning we're looking at the best candidates for promotions and new assignments who are going to be ready to deliver on the business strategies for the next year. So think about that for a moment. How can you influence the outcome in a way that makes sense for you in the business? So you can and should be intentionally giving others sound bites to your unique brand and your expertise so that you're visible even when you're not in the room. I want you to think of your brand as your reputation. So how do you do that? How else do you do that? I've already given you a couple of tips here, but how else can you do that? By ensuring that you're standing out. Give them something to really talk about. So that needs to begin to discover or uncover how you positively stand out, and then let your brilliance shine. Let your light shine. And here's the framework to help you develop your expert brand and your brilliance. It's a three-part strategy. The framework is effective. It's an easy way to clarify and communicate what makes you different. Now I'm going to go quickly here because we're getting close to our time allotment. But what this says is these three brand elements are key to your irresistible expert brand. So we have celebrate, communicate, and illuminate. I think it's the holy grail of personal branding, and we begin with celebrate. Celebrate is about downloading your brilliance. It's the first step in defining who you are, and it's key. It's a critical phase. It lays the foundation for the rest of the process. Now, it's at this point that you can uncover or understand what comprises your personal brand expertise, and to get you to begin thinking about how that's going to fit in to the organizational context, right? To how it fits in to the bigger picture. But it may also be about you taking a look at your values as well as your needs and expectations. But getting clear on this, and because it's a critical phase, I spend a lot of time here with my clients, internally, externally, to ensure they're clear. Now, I offer several assessments. There are several assessments that are available on the market. You could easily, no cost, there's strengths finders, there's value surveys. Those are the type of assessments that would be appropriate for this type of exercise. But I'm going to give you two exercises now to jumpstart this for you. So here, what I want you to think about here is who are you? What do you want to be known for? What do you do? And I want you to think beyond your title and degrees. What's making you unique? Your talents, your gifts, your experiences, and why it matters. Why what you're passionate about matters. Now, the next celebration exercise would be folded in along with this introspection exercise, if you will, to become your personal brand statement. Again, this is not about fake it till you make it. This is the real deal, because in the end, first of all, anyone can sniff out a phony a mile away, but you must believe in your statement and deliver it with authenticity and credibility. That's going to build your expertise, and that's the promise of your brand. So here's another quick exercise. And I share this with you and let you know that at the end of this webinar, I'll share a way that you can download these exercises and more in building your personal brand. But with this Celebrate, I'd like you to continue to ask yourself and record some questions. Now, you'd need to invest a little more time to complete this, but I'd like to just walk you through as a quick overview, then you can action it after the webinar. What I'm asking you to do here is to start listening and or recording all of the positive feedback that you hear. Really practice hearing compliments and positive feedback and writing them down. And ladies, we do have trouble accepting this. Think about it. Somebody wants to give you a compliment, even if they tell you, hey, I just love those pair of boots you're wearing today. You say, oh, these old things? No, I'm talking about, I don't care if the compliment is related to your work, related to your image. I want you to really practice hearing these compliments and positive feedback. Look, this is a great time of year. You can also go through your performance reviews, letters of recommendations, thank you notes, really identifying any and all of the points that are praiseworthy and write them down. I also want you to get some additional feedback. Now, I'm not talking about a cumbersome 360, how did I do on that last big deliverable for the finance team. What I'm asking you is to ask a few trusted colleagues, maybe some clients if you're comfortable, and some friends. Ask them, what do you think makes me unique? What do you think makes me stand out from my peers or competitors and others in my profession? Or simply, what one word or phrase best describes me? So what this feedback is going to tell you is it begins to shine a light on specifically why others value what you do and which of your skills, talents, or personal qualities they find exceptional. Then you're going to sort through all the feedback in that third step that you've received, and you want to identify some common themes. And again, I do this with my clients. You can do it on your own as well, but you're going to gather all of the sources. And I refer to these common themes because remember, I'm looking for the recurring patterns, right? I say I'm looking for the red thread of your brilliance. And a quick story here, I had a client who was a COO, a tremendous CV, resume, right? List of accomplishments, published articles, etc. It was 4 pages long, actually. She needed to relocate to Florida to care for her parents. She came to me because she was going to be on the job market. She knew she wanted to look for a COO or CAO role. Now, it's a senior role. Clearly, in just reviewing her CV, and I say just reviewing, it was multi-page, but you could see brilliantly talented, lots of awards. But I saw that her experience was in groundbreaking technology and emerging markets. And when I highlighted this theme back to her, even she took a step back and said, wow, that's a real golden nugget. Well, actually, it's a red thread, I said. But the point is, sometimes we can't see for ourselves where our own brilliance lies. So uncovering this allowed her to narrow her search to organizations who were looking for COOs to lead in emerging technology markets. So it's really important to validate that and come back and look for those common themes. You want to look for that accuracy and maybe begin to rank order some of the themes that are emerging that are going to create your personal brand. The next step is communicate, right? So once you take the time to understand where your brilliance lies, you've got to start to build on it in step 2, and that's communicating your brilliance and your expertise. Because let's face it, after you've done the work on uncovering your brilliance, you're going to want to share those gifts with others, right? So you want to communicate by finding the right platform. And you can find the right platform in a variety of ways: blogs, panel discussions, presentations such as these, speaking up at meetings, right? Don't wasting those opportunities. But one of the most easiest or the most visible is leveraging a company newsletter. When I first built the learning function for this organization, for the first 3 years, and I've been here 6 years, but for the first 3 years, I always had an article in our company newsletter. I mean, heck, it got to the point where they finally created my own page called the Learning and Development Corner. And then I even started a Lunch and Learn series that was called Ask the Expert. So what are some of the ways that will work for you? I challenge you to think about what's available, what's appropriate within your current role and your industry. And obviously, don't neglect social media, right? Expanding your digital footprint, because the internet is going to offer many ways to get your expert message out front. And the third piece, right, in our trifecta, our holy grail of personal branding, was sharing your expertise. So while knowing your brilliance, crafting your personal brand statement are essential, they don't do you any good if you can't shine the spotlight on you and your expertise. So yes, you're going to have to market your personal brand and be visible. And that marketing is not just external. That marketing means inside an organization, And the fastest way to rise to expert status in that regard is to teach. So whether it's in your own business or for somebody else, it's a powerful and masterful way. Several different ways you can teach. Teach a class, design your signature seminar. I talked about facilitating lunch and learn, delivering an info session. But what's important is to be visible, because a brand isn't doing its job and you aren't living your purpose if you aren't sharing your brilliance with those around you. So we're coming to the close, and I'm going to shine the light on this slide one more time, right? This is why I say you are the most important product you will ever market. In recapping, it's about aligning who you are with what you do, how you do it, and why you do it. So we've worked through the 3-step framework. It's essential for creating your irresistible expert brand. I assure you, when you know what you want, where you're going, and why, almost nothing can stop you. And when I say nothing can stop you, your experience and your expertise are too valuable to just spend it getting by or not being engaged in your current work. So certainly, don't let the fear stop you. Your mindset is very important. When you're ready to take that spotlight, when you're ready to be more visible, it's natural, okay? That fear comes in when you're ready to step into your full potential. I want you to know it's okay to be uncomfortable. Just don't be paralyzed by the fear. Don't let it prevent you from taking the right action in communicating, articulating, and living your personal brand, because you deserve to be in the spotlight. And don't play small. Look for the support. Avoid the naysayers, right? Avoid those who are going to play into your fears. I mean, this concept is really important, and it's why I build community and support into my programs. But here, you've got to get out of your head and into the world with your brand, because you can't build a brand on what you intend to do. I really want you to embrace your potential. It's not enough to find another job. Look, I've said I founded Wise Advantages because I believe that women deserve to do work they love and be recognized for their expertise, value, and contributions. And I've shared with you, success leaves clues. You just need to know where to look. So if you're ready for your new personal branding journey or a rebranding journey, or you're ready to take your personal brand in your career to the next level, I'd love the opportunity to talk with you. I make it very easy for you. I'm offering everybody a free 20-minute discovery call that you could go to wiseadvantages.acuityscheduling.com. Alternatively, you can follow me on social media. You can email me with questions. If you want to get on my newsletter or blog, just send me an email, janet@wiseadvantages.com, and just put add to newsletter. And on my website, wiseadvantages.com, what I spoke about and promised to early on through some of the exercises, because we had to move through this quickly, is you can get the guide. It's the Savvy Woman's Guide to Personal Branding. You can download the guide for free on my website. And truly, I'm going to say that, like you, I'm uber busy. So I'm working full-time. I have my consultancy as well. So there are limited opportunities. But I do feel that I'm on this mission, and with that, I'd like to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to inspire and educate. I'm excited to have my work support your work so that you can get out front in a much bigger way, do more work you love, be recognized as an expert personal brand. And with that, Maggie, I shall turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Janet. I just want to remind everyone, if you have any questions, you can use the chat box or email info@savvyladies.org. And we had a question come in when you were talking about the industry statistics.
Sure.
And it's about, what if you like your job and you don't want to leave? Is that a sign that you're not motivated? Does it mean anything if you stay in your job for a while?
No, and you know what? I'm so glad, whoever that was, thank you so much for bringing that up, because if you noticed, I am also somebody who is not testimony to that stat, right? I shared with you that I've been in this particular corporate role for 6 years. So no, absolutely, it's absolutely fine. And even from a talent acquisition perspective, this doesn't mean that you must leave your job. If you're enjoying it and you're being fulfilled and you're growing, okay, and you're growing, then absolutely, you've found a niche. Look for ways to really expand and grow within the current role or within the current organization. All I'd like to add here is, unlike times past where talent acquisition, we would look at your resume, and if we saw too much job hopping, that was a bit of a sign of, a warning sign. So it's changing. All I'm saying is, again, you have to think of it within the context, within your industry, and within your current role. So please don't jump for the sake of jumping. If you're happy and you know it and you're in your role and you're growing, kudos to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
the next question, the example is LinkedIn.
Yes.
Wanting to know how you can stand out when everyone else is sharing and publishing frequently. And maybe you could talk a little bit about other social media or other outlets as well.
Sure. I'm gonna stick with LinkedIn because it's what most careerists are on, but similarly holds true whether you're on Twitter or Facebook. But again, remember the example I talked in terms about borrowing a point of view? Look, LinkedIn is a great way to see, right, they have something called Pulse, to see what the trends, the industry, and what's happening. So definitely, I'm grateful for you that you've asked this question, and I'm happy for this individual that you're on LinkedIn and you're looking at the articles. You don't have to necessarily publish, but what you can do, and what will also impact almost sort of the hits or the algorithm around, even you becoming searchable, even when you're not the author of the article, is commenting on that. So remember, be a student of the industry. Read the article, read the discussion threads, and then don't just like it. Where you can, whether even it's on a weekend or an evening, set some time up and make a comment. What's the one takeaway from the article that really resonated with you, that you either agree or disagree with? I say Be careful with disagreeing. Not that I'm saying we all need to be, yes, ladies, but I will say as you're starting out and building your brand, you want to look for ways where you're building a following, where you're looking as though you are commenting in support of somebody who has a point of view that you value. And then in turn, you're commenting on that. And then if you need to present an opposing view, you present it, but of course not in an argumentative way. But that is a brilliant and very easy way to begin to build your point of view and a following. It's a great question.
Okay. All right, good advice. Well, I want to thank you, Janet, for a really great presentation. There's a lot of helpful information in there. And I want to thank everyone who joined us today and asked questions. We hope you'll be joining us again. So thanks again, Janet.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.